Hello and good day. So, on today's stream, what I'm going to be reading is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've read this book all the way through one time, and that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And when I read it for the first time, I did all the exercises, created the affirmations and everything, and I feel like it's a book I have to revisit. So it is a good book. It's a classic. Pretty much everyone has heard of it before in the personal development community, but not everybody implements what the book tells us to do, and I'm guilty of that as well, because I did do it and then I fell off of it. So this book contains 13 steps to wealth. So that's pretty much what I'm going to go through on this stream, is we're going to go through and read each one of the steps and form our own thoughts and take on the book. So let's get into it. Title: Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The man who thought his way into a partnership with Thomas Edison. Before I get into it, we could talk a little bit about Thomas Edison, because he does come up a lot in Napoleon Hill's work. And I have a lot of people that I've spoken to and people on the internet talk about the difference between Edison and Tesla. And even Elon Musk gives credit to Thomas Edison, because Thomas Edison was able to take a product to the masses. Or even though Nikola Tesla was the inventor of said electricity, he wasn't a great businessman. It's not always about money, but if you have a great invention and a great product, it's doing humanity almost a disservice not figuring out a way how to put it in the hands of those people, which is something that Thomas Edison was able to do. 3 feet from gold. One of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. That's right. Defeat is a stepping stone, and it's also an opportunity to learn. Alright, so let's go through this. Step number 1, right? The first step towards riches. Desire. Alright, here we go. Desire, the starting point of all achievement. When Edwin C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, New Jersey, hey, that's my home state. I don't live there anymore, but I was born there. More than 30 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp, but his thoughts were those of a king. As he made his way from the railroad tracks to Thomas Edison's office, his mind was at work. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Mr. Edison for an opportunity to carry out the one consuming obsession of his life, a burning desire to become the business associate of the great inventor. Barnes was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else, and it was definite. Definiteness of purpose, definiteness of desire is important. I've noticed that as a trend in his books. So as you can see, some of this book is the principles and practices of each step, and some of them are stories in the late 1800s, early 1900s to further explain the point addressed. So for time's sake, I may breeze through some of the stories and get through some of the nit and gritty. See, this time his desire has been translated into reality. He was a business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Okay? So we're on step 1, guys. Step 1, which is desire. Desire, desire, desire. You need a burning desire, a definite desire. Specific and detailed is important. If it's abstract, if it's vague, then that's exactly what the results will become, is vague and abstract. So Barnes is getting to work with Edison, is a remarkable illustration of the power of definite desire. Let's highlight that. This guy won his goal because he wanted to be a business associate of Mr. Edison, more than he wanted anything else. He created a plan by which to obtain that purpose, but he burned all his bridges behind him. Boom. See, that's like the story of Cortez when he landed on the shores of South America in the 1500s. There was like a few hundred men. They took on the entire Aztec Empire. I think Graham Hancock did a phenomenal job breaking this down. I've heard him on a couple podcasts, and it was when he wrote the book American Civilization. It was incredible what happened just 500 years ago down in Mexico. Clash of culture, clash of civilizations. But when he landed there, we advance or we die. That was Cortez's motto. Burn the boats. Because when you burn the boats, then the thought of retreat isn't even a thought. You find a way or make a way. So this guy stood by his desire until it became the dominating obsession with his life, and finally a fact. So he did not say he'll work there for a few months, or if I get no encouragement, I will quit and get a job somewhere else. He said, I will start anywhere, I will do anything Edison tells me to do, but before I am through, I will be his associate. So this guy had a strong desire, and he had a relentless pursuit to achieve the goal that he sought out to, which this guy Barnes' goal was to be a business associate of Thomas Edison. Let's go back. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. So how many people actually, live by that philosophy? There's not a lot of people. At least maybe I'm generalizing. But most people might be talk over action, but that right there speaks the action. Left himself no possible way of retreat, burning those boats. And he had to win or perish, period. That is all there is to the Barnes story of success. A long while, a great warrior faced a situation which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. This sounds kind of cool. I like these. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe, whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into boats, sailed to the enemy country, unloaded soldiers and equipment, then gave the order to burn the ships that carried them. Addressing his men before first battle, he said, "You see the boats going up in smoke? That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish." And they won. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by doing so one can be sure of maintaining the state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential to success. Sorry. The morning after the Great Chicago Fire, a group of merchants stood on the State Street looking for the smoking remains of what had been their stores. They went into a conference, decided they would try to rebuild, even Chicago. Blah, blah, blah. They reached all to leave Chicago. Gentlemen, on that very spot, I will build the world's greatest store, no matter how many times it may burn down. Okay. So more examples of illustrating this first step, which is desire. And not just desire by itself, but a burning desire, a relentless pursuit, burn the boats and I will find a way or make a way, desire. So this guy built his store back up, blah, 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 burning desire. Okay. Every human being who reaches the age of understanding of the purpose of money wishes for it. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. So look at what's highlighted right now. Wishing will not bring riches. but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. I mean, yeah, it makes a lot more sense than just wishing. Just wishing good luck, but actually taking action and mapping it out and putting in the work and not getting not quitting or getting set back when defeat or adversity comes about. The method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into financial equivalent consists of 6 definite practical steps. 1. Fix your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be definite as to the amount. There's a psychological reason for definiteness, which will be described in a later chapter. Number 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There's no such reality as something for nothing. What work are you going to do? What are you going to give back? Etc. Establish a definite date which you intend to possess the money you desire. Okay, when do you want it by? Next week, a month? And I think that the next step being faith, I think it's important to make something that's achievable, but also something that's believable. And that's different for everybody. We all have our own limitations. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire, and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action. Who's really ready for anything? I noticed that with having kids. I had kids at a young age, and I don't know if anyone's ever really ready for that. You just have the desire to have that type of life, and you have the faith that you'll figure it out as you go. All right, number 5, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. Then number 6, read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once after arising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. So this is some law of attraction prayer stuff right here. Really speaking it into existence, but feeling it and seeing it and visualizing it and having that conviction to back it. And I think the conviction to back this is the actions that one chooses to take. So let's go over those. This right here is the method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalent. 6 definite practical steps. This is for desire. Overall, this book has 13 steps, but right now we're in step 1, desire, and these are 6 steps within desire. 1. Fix your mind on the exact amount of money you desire. It's not sufficient to merely say, I want plenty of money. 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. 3. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once. Whether you are ready or not, put this plan into action. 5. Write out a clear, concise statement in the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly your plan through which you intend to accumulate it. Read these written statements aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once before arising in the morning. Okay. So with that, let's come up with an example so you guys kind of have an idea of what this statement should kind of look like. You're not going to say you want plenty of money. Let's come up with a number. Let's say you want $2 million or $3 million. All right, you want $3 million. Be definite amount. We want $3 million. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for this money you desire. Okay, so in return for $3 million, you intend to do X. And it could be a mixture of things. It could be the service that you're going to be doing, your provocation, your product that you're going to be providing, the value you're going to bring to the marketplace, and also things that you can give back. So you can say, I I will accumulate $3 million by the year, let's say 2022. In return for this money, I will give back services such as, let's say real estate, such as helping people buy and sell their real estate property, as well as me investing in real estate property. I intend to achieve this wealth through, over the next 3 years, through these plans that I have set out in place, where I'm going to literally sit down and map it out. All right, this is how much money I make when I do this. If I flip a house, this is how much money I can make. If I do this many house flips in a year, if I sell this many houses in a year, I'll be able to make X amount of money. So do the math, write it out clear, and have a plan. And then when you have those things that, or when you have that goal planned out, like I need to do this much business and I have to do this much business, then you just have to hold yourself accountable. And each and every day, as you can see in step 6, read your written statement aloud twice daily. See, when you read it and you speak it in the morning and at night, it's almost like a reminder to keep you on track. So it is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in the 6th paragraph. You may complain that it's impossible for you to see yourself in the possession of the money before you actually have it. Here is where a burning desire will come to your aid. If you truly desire money so keenly that you desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself that you will acquire it. The object is to want money and to become so determined to have it that you convince yourself that you will have it. Only those that become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. Money conscious means that the mind has become so thoroughly saturated with the desire for money that one can see oneself already in possession of it. So I remember when I watched The Secret back in high school, learning about law of attraction and visualizing it, but a lot of times it always didn't feel right, it didn't feel real, just saying, oh, look how much money I have, and then you don't feel it. I think that's the fuel that's required, is a mixture of the faith and the desire and feeling it and taking the actions to achieve it. Okay. But the successful application of these 6 steps does not call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see or to understand that accumulation of money cannot be left to chance, good fortune, and luck. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. You may as well know right here that you can never have riches in great quantities unless you can work yourself into a white heat of desire for money and actually believe you would possess it. You may as well know also that every great leader from the dawn of civilization to the present was a dreamer. Christianity is the greatest potential power in the world today because its founder was an intense dreamer who had a vision and the imagination to see realities in their mental and spiritual form before they have transmuted into physical form. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you'll never see them in your bank balance. Boom. Boom. Never in history of America has there been so great an opportunity for practical dreamers as now exists. The 6-year economic collapse has reduced all man essentially to the same level. A new race is about to run. So this book was written in the early 20th century, just for some background about it. We who are in this race for riches should be encouraged to know that this changed world in which we are living is demanding new ideas, new ways of doing things, new leaders, new adventures, new methods of teaching, new methods of marketing, new books, new literature, new features for the radio, new ideas for moving pictures. Turn this. Okay. Back of all the demand for new and better things, there is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose. Okay. The knowledge of what one wants and the burning desire to possess it. The business depression marked the death of one's age and the birth of another. This changed world requires practical dreamers who can and will put their dreams into action. Practical dreamers have always been and always will be a pattern makers of civilization. We who desire to accumulate riches should remember that real leaders of the world always have been men who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunities and have converted those forces or impulses of thought into skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, automobiles, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. Tolerance and an open mind are practical necessities of a dreamer of today. Those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. Never have there been a time for more favorable pioneers than the present. True, there is no wild or woolly west to be conquered, as in the days of the covered wagon, but there's a vast business, financial, and industry world to be remolded and redirected along new and better lines. In planning to acquire your share of riches, let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. To win the big states of the changed world, you must catch the spirit of great pioneers of the past, whose dreams have given civilization all that it has of value. The spirit which serves as the lifeblood of your own country, your opportunity, and mine, to develop and market our talents. Let's not forget Columbus dreamed of an unknown world, staked his life on existence in such world, and he discovered it. Facts. What I highlight down here? Success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. If the thing you wish to do is right, you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dream across and never mind what they say if you meet with temporary defeat. Or for they perhaps do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Everyone that's ever achieved success has gone through failure. So failure brings with it a seed of equivalent success. Practical dreamers do not quit. Okay? Fair enough. Now we're talking about the Wright Brothers, which is a crazy invention. We're going to fly in a plane, and we're going to just create it. It's amazing. Another thing that blows my mind is when I'm driving on the road, I'm going over a big lake and it's a bridge. It's incredible. People could build that stuff. All right, the world has become accustomed to new discoveries. Nay, it has shown a willingness to reward the dreamer who gives the world a new idea. The greatest achievement was, at first, and for a time, but a dream. The oak sleeps in an acorn. The bird waits in the egg. And in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Oh, I like that. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Awake and arise and assert yourself, you dreamer of the world. Your stars is now in the ascendancy. The world depression brought the opportunity you have been waiting for. It taught people humility, tolerance, and open-mindedness. The world is filled with an abundance of opportunity, which the dreamer of the past never knew. A burning desire to be and to do is a starting point from which a dreamer must take off. Dreamers are not born indifferent, laziness, or lack of ambition. The world no longer scoffs at a dreamer, nor calls him impractical. It's true. Take courage for these experiences. Okay. Remember, too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually come at the moment of some crisis, through which they are introduced to their other selves. Okay. All right, so this guy being forced through misfortune to become acquainted with his other self and use his imagination, he discovered himself to be a great author instead of a miserable criminal outcast. Strange and varied are ways of life, and stranger still are the ways of infinite intelligence. through which men are sometimes forced to undergo all sorts of punishment before discovering their own brains and their own capacity to create useful ideas through the imagination. So that's what we're working on. Step 1, desire. So we got desire outwits Mother Nature. Still continuing with the first step of accumulating wealth, which is desire. Alright, desire, burning desire. So again, more stories to further explain this point. But desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. So I like how I highlighted this last time I read it. Desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. And when I was reading the book, The Four Agreements, one thing that Don Miguel Ruiz says in his book is to have faith is to believe unconditionally. So I think that's important to throw in. And it's starting to transition us into the second step, going from desire, step number 1. Step number 2, faith. Every adversity brings with it the seed of equivalent advantage. Desire backed by faith pushed reason aside and inspired me to carry on. Desire backed by faith, desire backed by faith, desire backed by faith. Have faith with your desire. Have faith you can acquire your desire. Desire backed by faith pushed reason aside and inspired me to carry on. Reason is important. I'm a fan of reason. I think reason is important when it comes to writing laws and things like this. However, amassing a large amount of wealth without any immediate know-how or any foreseen possible way of achieving it, reasonable people will say that it's impossible. But you go back over here, desire backed by faith knows no such word as impossible. So let's transition to the next step, faith. Number 2, faith, the second step towards riches. Faith, visualization of and belief in attainment of desire. So what does that mean? Visualize what you desire and believe it's possible. Now, what can help make you believe it more possible? A couple things. One is not recognizing failure as failure, but as something to learn from and something to move on from and to get better. And it's the actions that you take towards your desire can help strengthen that faith. Because if you're not taking any actions, then the faith might start to fade away. Faith is the head chemist of the mind. I wish I could make this green. The head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it into infinite intelligence, as in the case of prayer. The emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. Don't we know that, huh? When the three are blended, oh boy, when the three are blended, they have an effect of coloring the vibration of thought in such a way that it instantly reaches the subconscious mind, where it is changed into spiritual equivalent, the only form that introduces a response from infinite intelligence. Off to a good start. Don't you guys like this chapter? Who doesn't like some faith, love, and sex, eh? Love and faith are psychic. Wow, psychic. Where are we going, Napoleon Hill? Love and faith are psychic, related to the spiritual side of men. Sex is purely biological and related only to the physical. The mixing and blending of these three emotions has the effect of opening the direct line of communication between the finite, thinking mind of men and infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence. What is that? God, the universe, our subconscious, the all. If you think of like our brains as like antennas that are picking up on all of knowledge and all of information, all of meaning infinite intelligence. All right, so how do we develop faith? Because I think it is important to make the distinction between having faith and having real faith. Like, real faith is when you have faith in something and you actually believe it. Some people say they have faith, but then in the back of their mind they say, who are we kidding? Or who am I kidding? That's not going to come true. So let's learn how we can develop faith. There comes now a statement which will give a better understanding of the importance. The principle of autosuggestion assumes in the transmutation of desire into its physical or monetary equivalent. Namely, faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. Okay? So through repetition, we can train our subconscious minds to think in a certain way, to believe and have faith. I think a lot of people, including myself from time to time, has had their minds and their subconscious mind especially on default, where it just come as it goes. As an illustration, consider the purpose for which you are presumably reading this book. The object is, naturally, to acquire the ability to transmute the intangible through impulse of desire into its physical counterpart, money. By following the instructions laid down in the chapter on autosuggestion and the subconscious mind as summarized in the chapter on autosuggestion, you may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive that for which you ask, and it will act upon that belief, which your subconscious mind passes back to you in the form of faith, followed by definite plans for procuring that which you desire. The method by which one develops faith where it does not already exist is extremely difficult to describe, almost as difficult in fact as it would be to describe the color of red to a blind man who has never seen color and has nothing with which to compare what you describe him. Faith is a state of mind which you may develop at will, after you have mastered the 13 principles, because it is a state of mind which develops voluntarily through application and the use of these principles. And right now we're on 2 still. Number 1 was desire. Number 2 is faith. Repetition of affirmation of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. Perhaps the meaning may be made clearer through the following explanation. As to the way some men sometimes become criminals, stated in the words of a famous criminologist. When men first come into contact with crime, they abhor it. They remain in contact with the crime for a time, become accustomed to it, and they endure it. I think I know where we're going with this. They get involved with it, they get accustomed to it, they get used to it. So same with manifesting your riches and having faith in your ability to do it. It takes time. It takes being disciplined and persistent. So this is the equivalent of saying that any impulse of thought which repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which proceeds to translate that impulse into its physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available. In connection with this, consider again the statement: all thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling, and mixed with faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterparts. So that was always a more difficult thing with me, maybe because I'm more of a thinking dominant personality, but yeah, feelings can give that extra oomph, so to speak. So let's read this again. All thoughts. This one's good. All thoughts which have been emotionalized and mixed with faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterparts. The emotions of faith, love, and sex, when mixed with any thought impulse, give it greater action than any of these emotions can do singly. So not only thought impulses which have been mixed with faith, but those which have been mixed with any other positive emotion, or any of the negative emotions may reach and influence the subconscious mind. Right, so the negative accounts for all the strange phenomena which millions of people experience or refer to as misfortune or bad luck. There are millions of people who believe themselves doomed to poverty and failure because of some strange force over which they believe they have no control. Yeah, if you don't think you have any chance of fixing yourself, then that kills any ambition to try, at least, to put in the effort, to take the actions needed. They are the creators of their own misfortunes because of this negative belief, which is picked up by the subconscious mind and translated into its physical equivalents. To make this more decent, more realistic, conduct yourself just as you would if you were already in possession of the material thing which you are demanding when you call upon your subconscious mind. Alright, so faith. And I like how each one of these steps help transition us to the next step. First step was desire, second step was faith. As you can see with this line down here, faith is a state of mind which may be induced by auto-suggestion. So can you guess what the third step is? Auto-suggestion. So let's go to this one. Ooh, but we got a self-confidence formula. Let's knock this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so self-confidence. We can all use some self-confidence, huh? And then we're going to get into third step, auto-suggestion, because we got a lot of steps to get through. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards this attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize that the dominating thought of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves outward, physical action, and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. So look at these steps right here. How many people actually do this, where they're like, all right, I want to achieve my goal of X amount of money, and I'm going to do that affirmation every morning and night that we talked about 15 minutes ago. And I'm going to also do this 30 minutes daily. I'm going to think upon the person I'm striving to become, the better version of myself. I'm going to mentally, imagine it and put my focus on it. All right, so self-confidence, that's what we're doing. Third, I know through the principle of auto-suggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I would devote 10 minutes a day to demanding myself the development of self-confidence. Alright, so these are interesting. I'm going to have my little note card here. You guys could take notes as well. I'm just going to jot down some of the calls to action that this book says. First one, the morning and night desire affirmation. "30 minutes visualizing person I intend to become." Okay. And the other one so far would be 10 minutes daily demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. All right, cool. 4. I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Another thing we had to write down. Clearly written down. Definite chief aim. Okay. And 5th, I fully recognize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. So you always got to think win-win. Okay. Cool. All impulses of thought have the tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent. All right, so now we're stepping from faith, which was the second, and going into number 3, autosuggestion, the third step towards riches. Autosuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. Autosuggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli, which reach one's mind through 5 senses. Stated another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between the part of the mind which the conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. Through the dominating thought which one permits to remain in the conscious mind, whether these thoughts be negative or positive is immaterial. The principles of autosuggestion voluntarily reaches the subconscious mind and influence it with these thoughts. No thought, whether it be negative or positive, can enter the subconscious mind without the aid of the principle of autosuggestion, with the exception of thoughts picked up from the ether. Stated differently, all sense impressions which are perceived through the 5 senses are stopped by the conscious thinking mind, and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approaches of the subconscious mind. Nature has built man that he has absolute control over the material with which reaches his subconscious mind through his 5 senses. Although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that man always exercises this control, in the great majority of instances he does not exercise it, which explains why so many people go through life in poverty. Recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot, in which weeds will grow in abundance. If the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown therein, autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind of thoughts of a creative nature, or, by neglect, permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into the rich garden of the mind. So I like that. So your brain is a garden, and we reap what we sow, and what we feed our garden determines what will grow, essentially. So I don't need to get super poetic about it. It seems pretty simple. You know, a lot of people are in a negative default, and that's what they're constantly feeding themselves through the principle of autosuggestion. So through conscious effort, we can rewire that so that way it's moving ourselves in a more positive direction. So that way we're using the principles of autosuggestion in a positive light, so that way it's tied to our goals and our desires. So you were instructed in the last of the 6 steps described in the chapter on desire to read aloud twice daily the written statements of the desire for money, and to see and feel yourself already in possession of the money. By following these instructions, you communicate the object desire directly to your subconscious mind in the spirit of absolute faith. Remember that? That was the first thing I wrote down on my list of things to do with this book, is have your affirmation, which you read once in the morning, once at night, which describes the exact amount of money you wish to achieve and or acquire, and what services you choose to render in exchange for said money, and the timeline for which you intend to acquire this money. Through repetition of this procedure, you voluntarily create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetarily equivalent. Go back to these 6 steps described in Chapter 2 and read them again very carefully. So yeah, that's what we did. So right now we're still on step 3, auto-suggestion. What's up, what's up? Anyone that's joining in, what's up? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All right. Do not become discouraged if you cannot control or direct your emotions the first time you try to do so. You could see a lot of people doing that, getting discouraged. Oh, this doesn't work. Or, I hate this. This is bullshit. And then they just give up. Remember, there is no such possibility as something for nothing. So what services are you choosing to give in exchange for this? What are you going to do to acquire this type of money? That's why it's important to have in your affirmation. The ability to reach and influence your subconscious mind has its price, and you must pay that price. You cannot cheat, even if you desire to do so. The price of ability to influence your subconscious mind is everlasting persistence in applying the principles described here. You cannot develop the desired ability for a lower price. You, and you alone, must decide whether or not the reward for which you are striving is worth the price you must pay for its effort. Wisdom and cleverness alone will not attract and retain money except in very rare instances, where the law of averages favors the attraction of money through these sources. So that'd be nice, wisdom and cleverness. I don't got to do any work. I'm going to use my wisdom, I'm going to be super clever, and then I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to have millions of dollars in my bank. It's a very rare instance. Let that incident be mine. The method of attracting money described here does not depend on the law of averages. Moreover, the method plays no favorites. It will work for one person as effectively as it will for another. Whether failure is experienced, it is the individual, not the method, which has failed. If you try and fail, make another effort, and still another, until you succeed. That is the principle of persistence, which is important. And that's actually one of the steps a little bit later on in this book. But as you can see, a lot of them are intermingled, so to speak. They work together. Your ability to use the principle of auto-suggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. There is a big difference between a desire and a burning obsession. Let's just say that, get that out there. When you begin to carry out the instructions in connection with the 6 steps described in the 2nd chapter, it will be necessary for you to make use of the principle of concentration. That's something that's not as common in our day with cell phones and social media and ADHD and everything. But those that can focus and concentrate have power. No doubt. So, fix in your own mind the exact amount of money you desire. Hold your thought on that amount of money by concentration or fixation of attention with your eyes closed until you can actually see the physical appearance of money. Do this at least once a day and go through these exercises, follow the instructions, and given a chapter on faith, and you'll see yourself actually in possession of the money. All right, so what do I got to do once a day? Fix in your own mind the exact amount of money you desire. Hold your thought on that amount of money by concentration. Okay. So concentrate. All right. So concentrate on the amount of money you want daily. Back it with faith and action, and you're on your way. All right, auto-suggestion, I think we get the point. You know, putting in those affirmations, putting in those plans, and doing it daily. What we're doing is taking our conscious thoughts and repetition so we can communicate that to our subconscious, which is more connected to infinite intelligence, which will help us bring about what we are putting out, which is a desire for more. So that's what we're going to do. I don't know if you guys can hear this background music, but I'm switching it. I'm going to show you what I like to listen to when I study, which is chill step. Some of it's probably copyright, so might get flagged, but whatever. Turn it up a little bit. Okay. Do not wait for a definite plan through which you intend to exchange services or merchandise in return for the money you are visualizing, but begin at once to see yourself in possession of the money, demanding and expecting. Meanwhile, that your subconscious mind will hand over the plan or plans that you need. Be on the alert for these plans. When they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in a form of inspiration. This inspiration may be considerate of direct telegram or a message from infinite intelligence. Treat it with the respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Failure to do so will be fatal to your success. So when you get that impulse, when you got that idea, the next step is to take action. There's probably countless things that me, friends, family have thought of, and they died because there was no action. Fourth of the 6 steps you are instructed is to create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action. You should follow this instruction in a manner described in the preceding paragraph. Do not trust to your reason when creating your plan for accumulating money. Through the transmutation of desire, your reason is faulty. Moreover, your reason faculty may be lazy, and if you depend entirely upon it to serve you, it may disappoint you. When visualizing the money you intend to accumulate with closed eyes, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. This is important. All right, so when visualizing, imagine what I'll be giving in return, be doing / giving in return of it. Okay. All right, so we got step 1. Remember? Desire. Step 2, faith. Step 3, autosuggestion. Now we're on to step 4, specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge, personal experiences, or observations. There are 2 kinds of knowledge. One is general, which I got a lot of general knowledge, fun facts here and there. And the other one is obviously specialized, something that personally I've struggled with because there's so many things that interest me. I have so many things that are fascinating, and there's so many things that I like to learn about. So many random facts that general knowledge is great, but is with careers, I don't know if it's as valuable. Let's see what Think and Grow Rich has to say about it. No matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of but little use in the accumulation of money. Boom. General knowledge, little use. Faculties of the great universe possess in practically every form of general knowledge known as civilization. Most of the professors have but little or no money. They specialize on teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize on the organization or the use of knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of money. There we go, fam. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of money. Lack of understanding of this fact will be the source of confusion to millions of people who falsely believe that knowledge is power. I remember when I would do sales, resort sales, and I'd have people that couldn't just tell me they don't want it. They got to try and kiss my butt or like make me feel better by BSing me. And they would say things like, well, I really learned something, you know. And I would tell them like, if you learn how to save money, but you don't take the actions to save money, the knowledge is useless. So knowledge is not power, but applied knowledge is power. Knowledge is the only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. This missing link in all systems of education known to civilization today may be found in the failure of educational institutions to teach their students how to organize and use knowledge after they acquire it. Facts. So not just learning, but learn how to learn. And with some of these earlier steps of desire and creating these affirmations and having a clear understanding of what services you intend to do or what products you intend to sell in exchange for that money, this step 4, specialized knowledge, is become a master of what you need to achieve it. You know, I'll use me for example. Now I'm doing real estate. So specialized knowledge will be in real estate to be able to achieve the goals that I sought out after. If somebody has a plan to acquire $3 million because they want to build their own video game, then the specialized knowledge would be the programming of that game, or how to outsource it, how to come up with the right amount of money and work with somebody to be able to acquire that goal, so to speak. Lack of ambition. So speaking from my own experience with lack of ambition, it comes at a variety of times. You know, I think some of the obvious ones are when someone is hit with failure in a variety of different things that they sought out of. Like, all right, I tried A, B, C, and D, and I failed at A, B, and C, and D, so why am I going to try for E? You know, they lose that ambition. Another way of losing ambition could be no clear idea of what you want to do. You know, no definite plan of action. Liking too many things. You know, I've been guilty of that too. I remember a little while ago I made a video on my YouTube channel, which is what to do if you have no passion or if you have too many passions. Because that's been such an, I guess, oversaturated, nauseating, you know, advice, which is just follow your passion. Well, F you. What if I don't have a passion? Or what if I like 90,000 different things and I don't want to just pick one thing? So the video is basically, you know, take action on something. You know, if you have analysis paralysis, the way of overcoming that is just to do something, you know, because at least you got the gears moving and you're moving forward. So there's one weakness in people of which there is no remedy. It is a universal weakness of lack of ambition. Persons, especially salaried people, who schedule their spare time to provide home study, seldom remain at the bottom very long. Their action opens up a way for upward climb, removes many obstacles from their path, and gains friendly interest for those who have power to put them in the way of opportunity. Okay. It pays to know how to purchase knowledge. All right, so let's move on to the 5th step. Specialized knowledge was step 4. Step 5 is imagination. Put this up big. All right, what is up, everybody? Now I'm looking at this. Let me type something. Sign into chat. Cody, Bursky CC, Amber So Ninja. What's up, guys? Thank you guys for shout out from the Bronx. That's cool. I used to hang out in the Bronx a little bit. My friend in high school went to Fordham, so I remember I used to party over there for a little bit. And it looks like a toy headset, probably because it's a gaming headset. You know, it's Overwatch. So I've had this since 2017 or something, but it works really well. But yeah, I guess it is kind of like it. But thank you guys. It's saying that it wants me to sign in. 1 second, so I can respond. Thanks for hanging out. I apologize if I don't respond immediately to you. You know why? Because I'm going to be reading. And I put the chat on the bottom, so I don't actually read it as I read the book, but I check up on it every once in a while. Alright, back to the book. Step 5, imagination. Imagination, the workshop of the mind. The imagination is literally the workshop wherein are fashioned all plans created by man. The impulse, the desire, is given shape, form, and the action through the aid of the imagination faculty of the mind. It has been said that man can create anything which he can imagine. All of the ages of civilization, this is the most favorable for the development of the imagination, because it is an age of rapid change on every hand. One may contact stimuli which develop the imagination. Through the aid of his imagination faculty, man has discovered and harnessed more of nature's forces during the past 50 years than during the entire history of the human race previous at that time. That's quite a big claim of Napoleon Hill to make. He has analyzed, weighed sum of distance, millions of miles is determined through the aid of imagination. Imagination. So everything comes from the imagination. Speed of locomotive. So basically all inventions he's talking about, all advances in all different fields, originates in the imagination. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of imagination. He has not yet reached the apex of development in the use of his imaginative faculty. He has merely discovered that he has an imagination and has commenced to use it in a very elementary way. Two forms of imagination. Let's check this out. Synthetic imagination, let's make it blue. And creative imagination, we're going to make that one yellow. So synthetic imagination, through this faculty, one may arrange old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. This faculty creates nothing. It merely works with the material of experience, education, and observation, which with it is fed. It is a faculty used most by inventor, which is the exception of who draws upon the creative imagination, when he cannot solve his problem through synthetic imagination. Move this up a little bit. Next one's creative imagination. Through this faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. It is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. It is by this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to man. It is through this faculty that thought vibrations from the mind of others are received. It is through this faculty that one individual may tune in or communicate with the subconscious mind of man. All right, y'all. So again, we are on step number 5. 1, desire. 2, faith. 3, autosuggestion. 4, specialized knowledge. And 5, imagination. The creative imagination works automatically in a manner described in pages to follow. The faculty functions only when the conscious mind is vibrating at an extensively rapid rate, as for example, when the conscious mind is stimulated through the emotion of a strong desire. The creative faculty becomes more alert, more receptive to vibrations from the source mentioned in proportion to its development through the use. This statement is significant. Ponder over it before passing on. All right, Napoleon Hill wants us to ponder over this, guys. The imagination. The creative faculty becomes more alert, more receptive to vibrations from the source mentioned in proportion to its development through use. So use the imagination. Keep in mind as you follow these principles that the entire story of how one may convert desire into money cannot be told in one statement. The story will be complete only when one has mastered, assimilated, and begun to make use of all the principles. So this book is kind of like a recipe, and it's going to work only when you got all the ingredients and the right portions and you actually put it into action. You actually bake the cake that we got here, or we actually plant the seed of the money tree. Now that's what we all need, right? We all need a money tree where we can just go outside, we pick from it, and then it grows back more and more and more. The great leaders of business, industry, finance, and the great artists, musicians, poets, and writers became great because they developed the faculty of creative imagination. Both the synthetic and creative faculties of imagination become more alert with use, just as any muscle or organ of the body develops through use. Desire is only a thought, an impulse. It is debulous, and whatever this word is, lasting for a short time. Okay. It is abstract and of no value until it has been transformed into its physical counterpart, while the synthetic imagination is the one which will be used most frequently in the process of transforming the impulse of desire into money. You must keep in mind the fact you may face circumstances and situations which demand use of the creative imagination as well. Your imaginative faculty may have become weak through inaction. It can be revived and made alert through use. Use your imagination. This faculty does not die, though it may become quiescent. Say it right? Quiescent, the state of period of inactive dormancy, through lack of use. Center your attention for the time being on the development of the synthetic imagination, because this is the faculty which you will use more often in the process of converting desire into money. Transformation of the intangible impulse of desire into tangible reality of money calls for the use of plan or plans. These plans must be formed with the aid of the imagination and mainly with synthetic faculty. Alright, so it says read the entire book thoroughly, which obviously I've been kind of bouncing around because I wanted to cover all 13 of the steps. So each one I go through and skim it and kind of read something that seems of value for each step. But if you haven't read this book thoroughly, I definitely recommend you do that if amassing some great amount of wealth is something that you desire. Let's highlight it. Desire. And not just reading it, but putting into action everything that Napoleon Hill lays out for us. Carry out the instructions best suited to your needs. Reduce your plan to writing if you have not already done so. The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the tangible desire. Read the preceding sentence once more. Read it aloud very slowly, and as you do so, remember that the moment you reduce the statement of your desire and plans for its realization to writing, you have actually taken the first of the series of steps which will enable you to convert the thoughts into physical counterparts. So write out how much money you want, write it down. What services are you going to give in return for it? Write it down. What time period do you see yourself achieving it? Make it optimistic, make it kind of pushing the boundaries of your limits, but also make it something that's believable. And then have the faith, and the way you can have faith is by having the right actions, repeating these affirmations that you wrote down, which is one of the goals that the book tells you, or the homework assignments that the book gives you daily, so that way you're using the principles of auto-suggestion to get the conscious thoughts to your subconscious. And then obviously specialized knowledge and imagination. Those are two things where when one goes after their goal, they need those two things. If you have a desire, like I was using the example of creating your own video game, and you want to achieve a certain amount of money also from creating that video game, you're going to need a mixture of creativity and imagination and also concrete knowledge. Maybe if you're a programmer of that video game, what is the skills that you need to know to accomplish that goal. So I hope that was a good enough example. How to make practical use of the imagination. Ideas are beginning points of all fortunes. Ideas are products of the imagination. Let us examine a few well-known ideas which have yielded huge fortunes. All right, so now he's going to go over some inventions. I bet you could think of a bunch of inventions. So think how many cool inventions are out there. Maybe it could be something as simple as things that we take for granted of, the automobile industry. And it's interesting where the automobile industry came from. It comes from the horse and buggy, people not wanting to rely on horses anymore and move to something else. And I remember it took me 28 years to realize this, but horsepower, they use that measurement of power in motors because before there was cars, there was horses. So thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of you guys are probably like, oh, of course, everybody knows that. But it was one of those things I didn't put two and two together until I was reading about horsepower, and I was like, oh, horses. Funny. What would I do if I had $1 million? If I had $1 million, I would do YouTube full time, and it would be great. I would make videos like this and videos like other ones, and I don't know what else from there. And maybe that's why I haven't acquired $1 million, because I said that I don't know. I don't have a definite purpose, which is something that we learn in this book, which is to have a definite purpose to achieve said goal. So if you had $1 million, what would you do? What services would you render to achieve this money? If you had $1 million, what would you give back? So this story proves the truth of the old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. What do you guys think about that statement? Where there's a will, there's a way. We got any wills in the chat? Hello. Learn by doing. I definitely learn by doing. How about you guys? All right. Organized planning. 6th step. Step 1, desire. Step 2, faith. Step 3, principles of autosuggestion. Step 4, specialized knowledge. Step 5, imagination. Step 6, organized planning. Okay, you have learned that everything man creates or acquires begins in the form of desire. That desire is taken on the first lap of its journey, from the abstract to the concrete, into the workshop of the imagination, where plans for the transition are created and organized. Ally yourself with a group of as many people you need for the creation and carrying out of your plan, or plans for the accumulation of money, making use of the mastermind principle described in a later chapter. Before forming a mastermind alliance, decide what advantages or benefits you may offer to the individuals of your group. In return for their cooperation, no one will work indifferently without some form of compensation. No intelligent person will either request or expect another to work without adequate compensation. Although this may not always be in the form of money, arrange to meet with members of your mastermind group at least twice a week, and more often if possible, until you have jointly perfected the necessary plan or plans for the accumulation of money. Like accountability partners, and it's also good to surround yourself with people that are obviously, going to aid you on the path that you're going after. You don't want to be around a bunch of negative people that are going to constantly be pulling you down. But even though that could be more difficult if you're only around negative people, some people are like that. I think a light can make a whole room light up. You know what I mean? Just one matchstick can light up an entire room. So if you're a leader and you're a force that's not to be reckoned with, and you are very concrete in your plans and your goals and all this, then I don't think that they could have power over us, so to speak. But it's definitely a lot more difficult, especially if you live with relatives that are all negative and they're all keeping you down. Yes, you can be, a light in the darkness, so to speak, but it's a lot more difficult, where if you have a group of people, a mastermind group, then it's easier to hold each other and yourself accountable. All right, so first you are engaged in the undertaking of of major importance to you to be sure of success. You must have plans which are faultless. Second, you must have the advantage of the experience, education, native abilities, and imagination of other minds. This is in harmony with the methods followed by every person who has accumulated a great fortune. No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of great fortune without the cooperation of other people. Every plan you adopt in your endeavor to accumulate wealth should be a joint creation of yourself and every member of your mastermind group. You may originate your own plans either in whole or in part, but see that those plans are checked and approved by the members of your Mastermind Alliance. See, last time I did this book, that's something that I didn't do. I didn't have a mastermind. And I feel like it might be easier to find people online, honestly, because people in my life, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of great friends, a lot of great relatives. The majority of my friends that would be interested in doing something like this, I really don't know if they would be following through with it. You know what I mean? Where they might be interested in the first week and then 2 weeks, and after that they just fade away from it. But who knows? I guess I got to put it out there, you know. Worst they could do is back out, but create a mastermind group. Let me put that on the list. Mastermind Alliance. Okay. If the first plan which you adopt does not work successfully, replace it with a new plan. If this new plan fails to work, replace it in turn with still another, and so on until you find a plan which does work. I'll find a way or make a way. Goes back to earlier in the book when they were talking about burning all your boats, burn the bridges. Not bridges, boats. Majority of men meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of which they have failed. So yeah, if one of your plans fail, it doesn't mean that you failed in the overall plan, which is to achieve the lump sum of money that you're going after. That's like the main plan. Now the plan they're talking about is the daily tasks or the weekly tasks, the monthly tasks to do, the services to do in order to acquire that money. And if one method's not working, try another method. You know, it's almost like a marketing. Let's say if you're in real estate like me and you're trying to get more listings and you're always trying to do social media marketing. You got the best pictures, you got the best videos, you're DMing people or reaching out to them, and it's failing. Well, are you going to give up? Maybe. Or try a new plan. The new plan could be, rather than doing social media marketing, try networking. Go to networking events, meeting with people. Does that work? Maybe it doesn't. So try a third plan. Maybe the third plan is in a community that you have a listing already, or someone in your real estate brokerage has a listing already. Go door to door, door knocking, and just let people know, hey, this house is for sale, this house is under contract, and just to let you know, we're offering free listing consultations where we'll come in, I'll let you know exactly what we'll be able to sell your house for, how much everything will cost you, how much money you would be able to net, how soon we can do that, yada, yada, yada. That plan might work. If it doesn't, come up with another one. Right, so your achievement can be no greater than your plans are sound. That may seem to be a axiomatic statement, but it is true. Samuel lost his fortune of over $100 million. Ooh. Was built on plans that were sound. The business depression forced this guy to change his plans, and the change brought temporary defeat. Yeah, you was $100 million. That's gotta hurt, huh? Fire persistent, rebuild his plan. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. The fact he will be repeated many times because it is so easy to take the count after the first sight of defeat. We see men who have accumulated great fortunes, but we often recognize only their triumphs, overlooking temporary defeats which they had surmounted before arriving. No follower of this philosophy can reasonably expect to accumulate a fortune without experiencing temporary defeat. So I guess if it's inevitable, embrace it, welcome it, make it a friend, but don't repeat mistakes that don't need to be repeated. Learn from mistakes, learn from failures, and move on. That's how it becomes like you're moving up the ladder rather than going nowhere. If you give up before your goal has been reached, you're a quitter. Are you a quitter? I'm a quitter sometimes. I try to believe that I'm not a quitter, but I've quit many things in my life, and some things I haven't given up on, and I've just continued and continued and continued. And I'm like, I'm going to succeed until they tell me I can't do this no more. That's been other sales jobs that I've had where I wasn't just self-employed, where I made commission but worked for a company. And I'm like, I'm going to produce, I'm going to work my hardest, and if they fire me, so effing be it, because I gave it my all. That's always been my mentality. But there has been other things that I may have given up on, like some books that I've published. I just gave up on marketing it. I'll put it as a link, and if people want to support it, great. But a quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Playing the sale of services. All right, so this describes the description and ways and means of marketing personal services. And with the power of the internet, we can always Google, how to market our product, our service, how to get ourselves out there. A lot of times it's our desire and our relentless pursuit to achieve something that find a way or make a way mentality is what actually achieves it. And sometimes that requires self-learning, self-taught. We can get an education on YouTube, so to speak. We can learn about everything, how to fix your car, how to bake a cake, and also how to market your business as well. So don't always be looking for one source or one book that's going to change your life and solve everything. Every day we could be learning something new. Every day we could be progressing and evolving and becoming better. So broadly speaking, there are two types of people in the world. One type is known as leaders, and the other are followers. Boom. Which one are you? Do you lead or you follow? I will lead, not follow. Decide at the outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. Now, there is a time to follow. There's a time to lead. Now, when it comes to your own direction in life and your own goals and your own pursuits, I think it's important to be a leader. I think when it comes to your values, I don't think values should be compromised. In those times you should lead by example. But there is a time to follow as well. When you have a great mentorship, when you're learning from someone, when you're working with someone who is a master in their craft and you want to become a master in that craft as well, then yes, following is a really good opportunity. See? Opportunity to acquire knowledge from its leader. See? That's pretty much what I'm talking about. The majority of attributes of leaderships. All right, so this should be good. Unwavering courage based upon the knowledge of self and of one's occupation. No follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self-confidence. And courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. 2, self-control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self-control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. 3, a keen sense of justice. 4, definiteness of decision. 5, definiteness of plans. Successful leaders must plan his work and work with his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical and definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later he will land on the rocks. 6, the habit of doing more than is paid for. 7, a pleasing personality. 8, sympathy and understanding. 9, mastery of detail. 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. Nobody likes a leader that blames everything on their followers. But I can see how in some situations, when talking with a subordinate or a leader, so say you're a leader and you're talking to a subordinate, I don't know if it's always bad to blame it on them, because it's like, all right, you messed up this, so you can correct it by doing this, this, and that. Some positive, constructive feedback. But let's say you're a leader and you have a subordinate and there's some third party that's intervening. It's like, hey, why did that person mess up on this? Why did this person fail? Could be a client. You're the owner. That's a subordinate, an employee. Client's unhappy with your subordinate. I'm sorry, I take full responsibility. I did not train my employee to do X, Y, and Z, so I take full responsibility. So I do agree in those type of situations, a leader is the one that should assume responsibility for everything, because at the end of the day, it's all on them. They're the ones that are responsible for training and building their followers up. But in some instances, like I was mentioning, those one-on-ones, it might be good to let them know where they messed up and that they messed up because of X, Y, and Z. Explain why so they can correct it. Sorry, I'm ranting. 11. Cooperation. Yes, I hated working for people that were just do as I say, not as I do, and don't question any reason for why I do things. That's drives me crazy, because for me, I like to know why we're doing something. What is the reason? So great leaders that I've always witnessed, ones that will lead by example, but would also give me some legitimate reason for why they do things a certain way. And a lot of times when they would explain it, if I had some confusion, like, why are we doing this like this? Oh, we're doing this because of X, Y, and Z. It gets us a better return instead of doing it like this. Okay, got it. Check. I understand. There are two forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent of and with sympathy of followers. The second is leadership by force, without the consent and sympathy of followers. Yeah, nobody likes leadership by force. I know it's called for once in a while, but no thank you. History is filled with evidence that leadership by force cannot endure. The downfall and disappearance of dictators and kings is significant. It means that people will not follow leadership indefinitely. Yeah, look at us. Over here in the US, we are born to say F you to leaderships. There are plenty of people in this country that are followers, don't get me wrong, but this country has a rebellious spirit where it comes from, of breaking away from the tyrants of England and being like, we don't want to be under your rule, we want to be free. The world has just entered a new era of relations between leaders and followers, which very clearly calls for new leaders and new brands of leadership in business and industry. Those who belong to the old school of leadership by force must acquire an understanding of the new brand of leadership. The relationship of employee to employer, or the leadership of follower, in the future will become one of mutual cooperation based on the equitable division of the profits of a business. In the future, relationship of employer-employee will more likely be a partnership than it has been in the past. Okay, so 10 major causes of failure in leadership. Inability to organize in details, unwillingness to render humble services. 3, expectation of pay of what they know instead of what they do with which they know. 4, fear of competition from followers. 5, lack of imagination. 6, selfishness. Intemperance, disloyalty, emphasis of the authority of leadership. That is so annoying. Emphasis of titles. Again, so annoying. These are all things that will tear apart someone's leadership. So now we're going to go from step 6, which was the organized planning, to decision, the 7th step towards riches. So let's go over them again. 1 is desire. 2 is faith. 3 is autosuggestion. 4 is specialized knowledge. 5th is imagination. 6th is organized planning. And step 7 is desire. Sorry, decision. Desire is number 1. Decision, number 7. Okay. The lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. So you've got failure, you're missing out on some decisions. And yet, working in sales for resort sales for 5 years, when people would say, give the objection, I can't make a decision, you ever have that if you work in sales? or even if you're proposing anything, oh, I just can't make a decision right now. I can't make a decision. Making the decision to not make a decision is still a decision. And no action is a no. Not moving forward with a product or service is a no. It's still a decision has been made, period. They just try to pretend like they're not making a decision. So procrastination, which is the opposite of decision. And like that, I can't make a decision objection in sales. That's procrastination. It's a very common enemy which practically every man must conquer. I procrastinate too. I think everybody does. Getting better at it. You will have an opportunity to test your capability to reach quick and definite decisions when finishing reading this book and are ready to begin putting into action the principles which it describes. If you are influenced by the opinions of others, you will have no desire of your own. Keep your own counsel when you begin to put into practical principles described here by reaching your own decisions and following them. Take no one into your confidence except the members of your own mastermind group, and be very sure in your selection of this group that you choose only those who will be in complete sympathy and harmony with your purpose. Close friends and relatives, while not meaning to do so, often handicap one through opinions and sometimes through ridicule. Yeah, especially if you're trying to achieve something that people in your inner circle have not achieved or don't have any desire to achieve, it can be kind of difficult because everybody wants to impose their opinions on others. Everybody wants to oppose their limitations on us. You just got to tell them, your limitations are not my limitations. You know, just because you say you can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it either. And if you don't believe me, I'll effing show you. You know, that type of attitude is a way of flipping it, you know. And I think there has been plenty of examples throughout history of people that have achieved massive success because they had a chip on their shoulder and they wanted to prove everybody wrong. You have a brain and mind of your own. Use it. Why is this so difficult in 2020? Right? I feel like sometimes, like in the Will Ferrell in the movie Zoolander, where he's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like that with this year a little bit, because people's reaction to things is mind-boggling. How people just blindly comply, and they sound like everything that they speak about current events is like they just came from the media. You know, it's unbelievable, people's inability to think for themselves. But if the majority of people are not able to think for themselves and the majority of people are compliant, then there's opportunity. There's opportunity for one that chooses to use their brain to its maximum ability. Reach their own desires. If you need facts or information from other people to enable you to reach decisions, as you probably will in many instances, acquire these facts or secure the information you need quietly without disclosing your purpose. Yeah, there is some kind of power in keeping your goals and purposes on the low, you know, keeping it more quiet, keeping it more reserved, because you don't want to give away that power, so to speak. You know, because once you put out your big secret or your big goals, then, you know, it can leave it up to people's opinions and ridicule, and that can disempower some people. You know, so if you want to share people your goals, then don't tell them, show them. You know, don't talk about it, be about it. You know, and then when you achieve it and they ask, oh my God, how did you do it? You can go ahead and explain exactly how. But a lot of people are not going to believe it until they see it. So it's important to take note of. It is characteristic of people who have been a smattering or a veneer of knowledge to try to give the impression they have much knowledge. Such people generally do too much talking and too little listening, right? We got 2 ears, 1 mouth, twice as much listening as talking. Keep your eyes and ears wide open and your mouth closed if you wish to acquire the habit of prompt decision. Those who talk too much do little else. If you talk more than you listen, You will only deprive yourself of many opportunities to accumulate useful knowledge, but also to disclose your plans and purpose to people who will take great delight in defeating you because they envy you. It's true. Sometimes people might even just envy ambition, envy goals, because they don't have any ambition or goals of themselves. So, energy vampires are real. Don't become a victim, period. Remember, also, every time you open your mouth in the presence of a person who has an abundance of knowledge, you display to that person your exact stock of knowledge or lack of it. Genuine wisdom is usually conspicuous through modesty and silence. Yeah, sometimes we say more with silence. Sometimes it's smart to not talk. Because if you talk too much, you might say something stupid. Keep in mind the fact that every person with whom you associate is like yourself, seeking the opportunity to accumulate money. If you talk about your plans too freely, you may be surprised when you learn that some other person has beaten you to your goal by putting into action ahead of you the plans of which you talked unwisely. Let one of your first decisions be to keep a closed mouth and open ears and open eyes. As a reminder to yourself to follow this advice, it will be helpful to copy the following epigram in large letters and place it where you can see it daily. Oh, I like this. I'm going to write this down. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. Facts. So that's number 7. Decision. Number 8 is going to be persistence. So how do you develop persistence? There are 4 simple steps which lead to the habit of persistence. They call for no great amount of intelligence, no particular amount of education, but little time or effort. The necessary steps are: 1. A definite purpose backed by burning desire for its fulfillment. 2. A definite plan expressed in continuous action. 3. A mind closed, okay. 3. A mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including negative suggestions of relatives, friends, and acquaintances. That's important. Including negative suggestions amongst relatives, friends, and acquaintances. 4. A friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose. So these are 4 simple steps which lead to the habit of persistence. We want persistence. You want to develop persistence? It's important. This is step number 8. Yeah, 8, because power is 9, right? 9, yeah. So 8 is persistence. 4 simple steps. Definite purpose backed by burning desire for fulfillment. Definite plan expressed through continuous action. A mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences. And 4. A friendly alliance with one or more person who encourage one to follow through with both plan and purpose. Because persistence is vital to this entire thing. These 4 steps are essential for success in all walks of life. The entire purpose of the 13 principles in this philosophy is to enable one to take these 4 steps as a matter of habit. Persistence is a habit. You have it or you don't. If you don't, you can make it a habit. These are the steps by which one may control one's economic destiny. They are the steps that lead to freedom and independence of thought. They are the steps that lead to riches in small or great quantities. They lead to the way of power, fame, worldly recognition. They are the 4 steps which guarantee favorable breaks. They are the steps that convert dreams into physical reality. Yeah, everybody that's created, the reality that they sought out for, they're living their dreams. They had persistence, period. Very few people get lucky, and even luck, we've all heard it defined as when preparation meets opportunity. They lead also to mastery of fear, discouragement, and indifference. There is a magnum reward for all those who learn to take these 4 steps. It is a privilege of writing one's own ticket and of making life yield whatever price is asked. I have no way of knowing the facts, but I venture to conjure that Mr. Wales, there was a burning desire. All right, let's keep going. It's for love. All right, it's doing more stories about King Edward's decisions, blah, 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 blah. So this is stories of persistence. So when you guys get the book, you can read through these. If you need a little bit more conviction to back the importance of persistence as a step. I think we all know how important persistence is. So let's move on to the 9th step towards riches, which is power. Power. Power of the mastermind, the driving force. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. Plans are inert and useless without sufficient power to translate them into action. This chapter will describe the method of which an individual may attain and apply power. Power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. So power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. So it's knowledge that's organized and intelligently directed. That's power. Applied knowledge is power. Goes back to what I was mentioning earlier when we were talking about one of the earlier steps. I think it was step number 4, specialized knowledge. Applied knowledge is more powerful than just knowledge. So especially when it's organized and intelligently directed. Power as a term is here used referred to as organized effort sufficient to enable an individual to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Organized effort is produced through the coordination or effort of 2 or more people who work towards definite end in a spirit of harmony. Power is required for the accumulation of money. Now, obviously, anyone that just read that, if they got a fortune cookie, they're like, oh, I got to have power over people. They think like that. But how about power of your own mind? Power over your own goals, power over your own plans, power over your own modes of action. I think that is more what this is getting at. So power, we're defining it as knowledge that's organized and intelligently directed is required for the accumulation of money. Facts. Power is necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. Facts. Because you go back, because you could make money and lose it, but if you organize and intelligently direct the knowledge, so if you acquire money and you organize and intelligently direct the knowledge of how to invest the money and where to put the money and how to diversify your money, then you're going to be in a much better situation, and there's going to be a higher probability of you actually keeping it and growing that money and making more money from it. Like I always imagine if I ever won the lottery, the first thing I would do is read, the top 10 books on finance, and create like a Ray Dalio type investment portfolio, all seasons weather portfolio, so I can make money and weather all the different ups and downs of the market. So something like that, is having the right knowledge, power, right? If power is organized knowledge, let's examine source of knowledge. Infinite intelligence. The source of knowledge may be contacted through the procedure described in another chapter with the aid of creative imagination, which we talked about earlier. B. Accumulated experience. I think direct experience is the most valid information you can get, most valuable knowledge you can get. Experiment and research. Knowledge may be acquired from any of those foregoing sources. Okay, so now we got it. We got what power is. It's knowledge that's organized and directed intelligently. Let's move on to step number 10. Transmutation, which means the act of changing or the state of being changed into another form. The mystery of sex. Sex. Transmutation. The meaning of the word transmute is in simple language the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another. All right, so where's he getting at here? Step number 10. Let's recap real quick, actually, before we get into sex transmutation. Transmuting the sex energy to constructive energy, I'm guessing. Number 1, step 1, desire, or principle, I should say, because there's 13 principles, and we already covered 9, so we're on to 10. Number 1 is desire. 2 is faith. 3 is the principle of autosuggestion. 4 is specialized knowledge. 5 is imagination. 6 is organized planning. 7 is decision. 8 is persistence. 9 is power, which was knowledge that is intelligently directed, right? Yes. Organized and intelligently directed knowledge. Okay, now we're on 10. The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind. Because of ignorance on the subject, this state of mind is generally associated with physical, and because of improper influences to which most people have been subjugated in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly biases in the mind. The emotions of sex has back of it the possibility of 3 constructive potentials. They are the perpetuation of mankind. Was that just like the continuation of it? Yeah, continuation, preservation. The maintenance of health. Yeah, when people get laid, they feel better. You know, everybody loves this. And 3, the transformation of mediocre into genius through transmutation. What the heck? So how do we convert it into genius? How can you become brilliant from being late, I guess, right? Sex transmission is simple and easily explained. It means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Okay, so it's like redirecting that energy, because that desire is so powerful. So if we can direct it towards a productive means, then it's almost like setting a sail where the wind is blowing in your favor. Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. I'm not going to argue that. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and a creative ability unknown to them at other times. That's true. I'm sure we all have a friend, or even ourselves may have examples of someone that wanted to get laid, and maybe they were lazy normally, lazy with everything in life, but they'll go to another state, to possibly, get laid. So strong and appealing is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation to indulge it. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes and keenness of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as a powerful creative force in literature, art, and other professions or callings, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. The transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower, to be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. Desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should be given an outlet through forms of expression which enrich the body, mind, and spirit of man. If not given this form of outlet through transmutation, it will seek outlets through pure physical channels. So where's another, let's look at this word again. Transmutation, the act of changing, or a state of being changed into another form. A river may be dammed and its water controlled for a time, but eventually it will force an outlet. The same is true of the emotion of sex. It may be submerged and controlled for a time, but its very nature causes it to be ever-seeking means of expression. If it is not transmuted into some creative effort, it will find a less worthy outlet. All right, scientific research has disclosed these significant facts. The men of greatest achievement are men with highly developed sex natures, men who have learned the art of sex mutation. The men who have accumulated great fortunes and achieved outstanding recognition in literature, art, industry, and architecture and professions were motivated by the influence of a woman. The research from which these astonishing discoveries were made went back through the pages of biography and history for more than 2,000 years. Wherever the evidence available in connection to the lives of men and women of great achievement, it indicated most convincingly that they possess highly developed sex natures. The emotion of sex is an irresistible force against which there can be no such opposition as an immovable body. Alright, so transmute that energy. Figure out a way to do that. So the emotion of sex contains a secret of creative ability. Destroy the sex glands. Whether in a man or a beast, you have removed a major source of action. Sex mutation takes off the male, whether beasts fight all the way. Alright, so human mind responds to stimuli through which it may be keyed up to high rates of vibration known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, intense desire. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely are the desire for sex expression, love, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money, music, friendship between either those of the same sex or those of the opposite sex, a mastermind alliance, mutual suffering, autosuggestion, fear, narcotics, and alcohol. So those are 10 mind stimuli. The desire for sex expression comes at the head of the list of stimuli, which most effectively step up the vibration of the mind and start the wheels of physical action. 8 of the stimuli are natural and constructive. 2 are destructive. Alright, so the sixth sense. Alright, so let's move on to number 11. The subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, the connecting link. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every impulse of thought that reacts to the objective mind through any of the 5 senses is classified and recorded, and from which thoughts may be recalled or withdrawn as letters may be taken from a filing cabinet. It receives and files sense impressions or thoughts, regardless of their nature. You may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into physical or monetary equivalent. The subconscious acts first on the dominating desire, which have been mixed with emotions and feelings such as faith. Consider this as a connection with the instructions given in the chapter on desire, for taking the 6th step there outlined, and the instructions given in the chapter on building and execution of plans, and you will understand the importance of the thought conveyed. The subconscious mind works day and night. It's always on. It's on when we're awake, obviously, and when we're sleeping, it's our dreams, right? Through the methods of procedure unknown to man, the subconscious mind draws upon the force of infinite intelligence for the power with which it voluntarily transmutes one's desires into their physical equivalent, making use always of the most practical media by which this end may be accomplished. You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand it over any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish transformed into concrete form. Read again the instructions using the subconscious mind in the chapter on autosuggestion. Okay? Autosuggestion. First, go into some quiet spot, preferably your bed at night, where you will not be disturbed, interrupted. Close your eyes and repeat aloud, in your own words, the written statement of the amount of money you would tend to accumulate and the time limit for the accumulation, the description of the service or merchandise you intend to give in return for the money. As you carry out these instructions, see yourself are in possession of the money. All right, by the first day of January 19th, let's say 2022, I'll have in my possession $500,000, which I'm saying I'm moving that up because 50,000 back then was a lot. Let's move it to 500,000, which will come to me in various amounts from time to time during the interval. In return for this money, I will give the most efficient service of which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity and the best possible quality of the service and capacity of salesman of selling houses. I believe that I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see this money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. It is now awaiting transfer to me at this time, and in proportion that I deliver the services I intend to render in return for it, I am awaiting a plan for which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan when it is received. Second, repeat this program night and in the morning until you see it, the money you intend to accumulate. Place a written copy of this statement where you could see it at night and morning until you have it memorized. So that's the instructions. Let's go back. Subconscious mind. I've never approached the discussion of subconscious mind without a feeling of littleness or inferiority due to perhaps the fact that man's entire stock of knowledge on this subject is so pitifully limited. The very fact that the subconscious mind is the medium of communication between the thinking mind of man and infinite intelligence is, of itself, a thought which almost paralyzes one's reason. Yeah, because it's so vast. It's beyond. It transcends reason, I think is what Hill was getting at. Make your decisions clear and reduce them to writing. Write it down, repeat it. You'll also understand the necessities of persistence in carrying out the instructions. Obviously, they all play a part, every single one of these principles. The 13 principles are the stimuli with which you acquire the ability to reach and to influence your subconscious mind. Do not become discouraged if you cannot do this upon the first attempt. Remember that the subconscious mind may be voluntarily directed only through habit, under the direction given in chapter on faith. You have not had time to master faith. Be patient, be persistent. A good many statements in the chapters on faith and autosuggestion will be repeated here for the benefit of your subconscious mind. Okay. When you achieve this, you'll possess the key which unlocks the door to your subconscious mind. You will control that door so completely that no undesirable thought may influence your subconscious mind. So I think that's talking about faith and autosuggestion. Yes. All thought impulses intended for transmutation into their physical equivalent, voluntarily planned in the subconscious mind, must pass through the imagination and be mixed with faith. The mixing of faith with a plan or purpose intended for the submission to the subconscious mind may be done only through the imagination. So Ella Wheeler Wilcox gave evidence of her understanding of the power of the subconscious mind when she wrote, all right, let's check this out. It's in italics. Let's read it. You never can tell what a thought will do in bringing you hate or love. For thoughts are things, and their airy wings are swifter than carrier doves. They follow the law of the universe. Each thing creates its kind, and they speed o'er the track to bring you back whatever went out from your mind. Boom, Wilcox. Poet. So this person understood the truth that thoughts which go out from one's mind also embedded themselves deeply in one's subconscious mind, where they serve as a magnet, pattern, or blueprint by which the subconscious mind is influenced while translating them into their physical equivalent. Thoughts are truly things, for the reason that every material thing begins in the form of thought energy. So that's step 11. Step 1, desire. Step 2 is faith. Step 3 is autosuggestion. Number 4, specialized knowledge. Number 5 is imagination. Number 6 is organized planning. Number 7 is decision. Number 8 is persistence. Number 9 is power. 10 is transmutation, sex energy. 11 is the subconscious mind. Now, 12th step is the brain. Guess this will be the conscious mind, the organ for which thoughts brew or come or whatever. The brain. Physical counterpart, the antenna to the infinite intelligence. Let's go with that. The brain, a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. Every human brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought. Through the medium of the ether, in a fashion similar to the employed by the radio broadcasting principle, every human brain is capable of picking up vibrational thought, which is being received by other brains. When stimulated or stepping up to a higher rate of vibration, the mind becomes more receptive to vibration of thought, which reaches it through the ether from outside sources. This stepping up process takes place through the positive emotions or the negative emotions. Through the emotions, the vibrations of thought may be increased. Now, a lot of times people are in a lower vibration, they're negative, and they got to climb themselves out of there. And I noticed that using your physiology helps. If I go out and go for a run, I listen to music, it amps me up, pumps me up. I start thinking all these positive thoughts, and then one thing leads to another, and you have a good day, you have a good week, you have a good month, you have a good year, so to speak. Thoughts are things, thoughts are vibration, they're energy, they're emotion. So it's important that you're tuning in to the right frequencies, and sometimes by default or by circumstance you may be, in a frequency that you don't prefer. You may be feeling a thought pattern that's not beneficial or something that is bringing about suffering. Sometimes you just have to retune that, and using your physiology has helped me at least. Go for walks, go for swims, jumping jacks, jump up and down, go dancing. Even if you're in your room, put on some music and just dance. You might feel embarrassed, which is crazy because no one else is in the room, but you'll feel better. Vibrations of an exceedingly high rate are only vibrations picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another. Thought is energy traveling at an exceeding high rate of vibration. Thought which has been modified or stepped up by any of the major emotions, vibrations at much higher rate than ordinary thought, and it is this type of thought which passes from one brain to another through broadcasting machinery of the human mind. Alright, now let's go back to number 10, right? The result of sex transmutation is the increased rate of the vibration of thoughts to such a pitch that creative imagination becomes highly receptive to ideas, which it picks up from the ether. On the other hand, when the brain is vibrating at a rapid rate, it not only attracts thoughts and ideas released by other brains through the medium of the ether, but it gives to one's own thoughts that feeling, which is essential before those thoughts will be picked up and acted upon those by one's subconscious mind. Oh, shoot. The subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain through which vibration of thought are broadcast. The creative imagination is receiving set through which the vibration of thought are picked up in the ether. Along with the important factors of the subconscious mind, the faculty of the creative imagination, which constitutes the sending and receiving state of the mental broadcasting machinery, consider now the principle of autosuggestion, which is the medium by which you may put into operation your broadcasting station. Every single one of these principles, they play a part. Every single one of these principles help each other, they aid each other in the construction of this Think and Grow Rich process. The greatest forces are intangible. Okay. See, man is entirely subservient to the intangible forces, which comes with a thunderstorm. He is just as helpless in the presence of intangible forces of electricity. Nay, he does not even know what electricity is when it comes from or what is its purpose, what its purpose is. Nor is this by any means the end of man's ignorance in connection with things unseen and intangible. He does not understand the intangible force wrapped up in the soil of earth, the force which provides him the ever morsel of food he eats, every article of clothing he wears, every dollar he carries in his pocket. Story of the brain. And from the 12th step, or principle, the brain brings us into our sixth sense, the 13th step, sixth sense. I'm pretty sure majority of people, when they hear this sixth sense, they think of the movie Sixth Sense, which is seeing dead people. And that's exactly what this is all about. So that's it. Sixth sense. What is that? Obviously, it's not communicating with dead people. So noun is sixth sense through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. Okay, so it's like that direct communication that we all have to infinite intelligence, but we don't always know when it's speaking or when we're feeling it. Some people might have a hunch or that gut feeling. It's that additional sense. It's like you don't smell it, you don't hear it, you don't see it, but you intuitively just know it. That's my guess. So the sixth sense is that portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as the creative imagination. It has also been referred to as the receiving set, through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. The flashes are sometimes called hunches or inspirations. See? That's what I was saying. That gut feeling. The sixth sense defies descriptions. It cannot be described to a person who has not mastered the other principles of this philosophy, because such a person has no knowledge and no experience with which the sixth sense may be compared. Understanding of the sixth sense comes by meditation through the mind development from within. The sixth sense probably is the medium of contact between the finite mind of man and the infinite intelligence. And for this reason, it is a mixture of both mental and the spiritual. It is believed to be the point at which the mind of man contacts the universal mind. After you have mastered the principle described in this book, you will be prepared to accept as true the statement which may otherwise be incredible to you, namely, through the aid of the sixth sense you will be warned of impending dangers in time to avoid them, and notified of opportunities in time to embrace them. There comes to your aid and to do your bidding with the development of the sixth sense, a guardian angel, who will open to you at all times the door to the temple of wisdom. I'm going to read that one again. Sounds cool. Through the aid of the sixth sense, you will be warned of impending dangers in time to avoid them, and notified of opportunities in time to embrace them. There comes to your aid and to do your bidding with the development of the sixth sense, a guardian angel, who will open to you at all times the door to the temple of wisdom. Whether or not this statement is a statement of truth, you will never know except by following the instructions described in the pages of this book, or some similar methods of procedure. The author is not a believer in nor an advocate of miracles, for the reason that he has enough knowledge of nature to understand that nature never deviates from her established laws. So this book is very much a metaphysical book, and when you follow these principles, then we can amass great fortunes through definiteness of purpose, persistence, desire, power, organized planning, all those steps. So building character through autosuggestion. So after we go through all the 13 steps, which we did, and I'll read them again. First one is desire. Second one is faith. Third one is autosuggestion. Fourth one is specialized knowledge. Fifth one is imagination. Sixth, organized planning. 7 is decision. 8 is persistence. 9 is power. which is power is intelligently directed knowledge. Um, 10 is transmutation of sex energy. 11 is subconscious mind. 12th is the brain. And 13th is the sixth sense. So ending on the book, they go through a couple different things. One of them is building character through autosuggestion. So being an earnest student of psychology, I knew, of course, that all men have become what they are because of their dominating thoughts and desires. Our dominating thoughts and desires is what shape us. With this knowledge of this principle of mind operation, I was fairly well armed with the equipment needed in rebuilding my character. In these imaginary council meetings, I called cabinet members for the knowledge I wished to each contribute, address myself to each member of the audible words as followed. All right. Okay, so he would have like virtual mentorships with people that he would look up to and like almost imagine like what type of advice they would be giving him. Like, Mr. Emerson, I desire to acquire from you the marvelous understanding of nature which distinguishes your life. I ask that you make an impression upon my subconscious mind of whatever qualities you possess which enable you to understand and adapt yourself to the laws of nature. I ask you to assist me in reaching and drawing upon whatever source of knowledge are available to the end. And he goes into Burbank, Napoleon. All right, let's see what he asked Napoleon. Napoleon, I desire to acquire from you by emulation the marvelous ability you possess to inspire men and to arouse them to greater and more determined spirit of action. Also, I acquire the spirit of enduring faith, which enabled you to turn defeat to victory and to surmount staggering obstacles. Emperor of fate, king of chance, man of destiny, I salute you. Then you got Darwin, Lincoln, Carnegie. I like Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, steel tycoon. Mr. Carnegie, I am already indebted to you for my choice of a life work, which has brought me great happiness and peace of mind. I wish to acquire a thorough understanding of the principles of organized effort, which you use so effectively in building of the great industry empire. Mr. Ford, okay. So he kind of looks at all these people that he looks up to, and then he has like a little prayer, sending out to those people because they represent something to him. One might represent a great leader. One might represent someone that's super courageous. One might represent someone that's super creative, and he's almost making a prayer of like, hey, can I have some of that? Can I get whatever? Can I have a little bit of whatever you're having? Man, you're so creative. Please bless me with your creativity, or you're such a powerful motivator. Can I get some of that? So it's an imaginary cabinet. My method of addressing the members of my imaginary cabinet would vary according to the traits of the character in which I was. For the moment, most interested in inquiring, I studied the records of their lives with painstaking care. So another part of this book is how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. So fear is crippling for people. But what are the 6 ghosts? The 6 basic fears are as followed. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love or of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. All other fears are minor importance, and they can be grouped under these 6 headings. According to Napoleon Hill, these 6 fears are the most powerful that keep people from their greatest desires. Most people are fortunate if they do not suffer from the entire 6, named in order the most common appearance if they are blah blah blah. The prevalence of these fears as a curse to the world runs in a cycle. For almost 6 years while the Depression was on, we're talking about the Great Depression in the 1930s, right? We floundered in the cycle of fear, of poverty, cycled in the fear of death, cycle the fear of ill health. And look at the world we're living in now in 2020. What is the news? Fear of ill health, fear of death, fear of ill health, fear of death, fear of poverty, fear of your health, fear of death, fear of poverty. It's this constant fear porn. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism. Oh no, don't, fall in line. Oh my God, what if you get sick? Oh my God, what if someone you love gets sick? Oh my God, people are old. What if they get sick? Oh my God, what about death? So it's constantly pushing these ghosts. What ghosts of fear is the media spitting at us right now? Oh, it's the ghosts of poverty. Oh, okay. What fear ghosts are they spitting at us now? Oh, the fear of ill health. Recognize it before it takes over your mind. Man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in the form of an impulsive thought. Following this statement comes another of still greater importance, namely, man's thought impulse begins immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. Thought impulses, which are picked up through the ether by mere chance, may determine one's financial, business, professional, or social destiny just as surely as do the thought impulses which one creates by intent and design. So thought impulses are powerful, whether it's intentional or unintentional, voluntary or involuntary. So if you want to have a higher probability of getting to a place that you desire, then take the reins of your conscious and input more voluntary thought powers, or what is it called? Thought impulses. Yeah, and more voluntary thought impulses. And by adapting the principles of autosuggestion, which they talk about in an earlier chapter, it can help us do that by helping us, that positive self-talk and that positive repetition. We are here laying the foundation for the presentation of fact of great importance to a person who does not understand why some people appear to be lucky while others of equal or greater ability, training, experience, and brain capacity seem destined to ride with misfortune. This fact may be explained by the statement that every human being has the ability to completely control his own mind, and with this control, obviously, every person may open his mind to the tramp thought impulses which are being released on other brains, or close the doors tightly and emit only thoughts impulses of his own choice. Yeah, I remember Jim Rohn said, stand guard at the door of your mind. And I think if we remember that simple little phrase and we take action on it, it can help us keep the unwanted thoughts out. Nature has endowed man with the absolute control over one thing, and that is thought. Something from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who is a Holocaust survivor. And when everything is taken from you, what is the last remaining freedom that you have? And it is just that. Thought. Freedom of thought. And it's amazing how many people in 2020 freely give up that freedom of thought, and they just give it away. Think for yourself. That's what I say. Think for yourself. Question the narrative. If it is true that all thoughts have a tendency to clothe itself in its physical equivalent, it is equally true that thought impulses of fear and poverty cannot be translated into terms of courage and financial gain. Yeah, a lot of people have that, I've dealt with that in my past, dealing with the thought impulses of fear and poverty. But a lot of times you can actually talk yourself out of it with reason, If fear is a ghost and fear of poverty is one of the ghosts, what are ghosts scared of? The truth. They're scared of the light. So shine the light on those things. And what is the light? It's truth. Why am I afraid? What do I have a reason to be scared? Is that the most productive emotion to have right now? And a lot of people that I've noticed that have more of a poverty state of mind is they say, oh, I'm not being, they actually tie it into being reasonable when they're not being reasonable. They're being limiting. They're being lazy. They're being negative, so to speak. They're adapting and allowing for the possession of the fear of poverty to take within them. But they'll say stuff like, oh, I'm not being negative. I'm just being realistic. It's like, okay, maybe for you, but that doesn't make it true for everybody and for you. Fear of poverty is a choice to settle, period. There can be no compromise between poverty and riches. The two roads that lead to poverty and riches travel in opposite directions. So if you say, "Oh, I can't, go out and become wealthy. I can't, choose to direct my thoughts and actions towards a life of great riches because that's not realistic." What are you doing? You're going down one path. You're basically saying, "Oh, I can't go to B, so I'm going to go to C. I'm in point A and I can't get to C. It's not realistic." Even though that road is there, people can drive there, but I don't know. I'm ranting a little bit. Why don't I do this? I'm going to read a little bit more of the section, and I think Napoleon Hill could do a better job describing his point of the fear of poverty than I'm doing describing the fear of poverty. If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstances that lead toward poverty. The starting point of the path that leads to riches is desire. In Chapter 1, Desire, you receive full instruction for the proper use of desire. In this chapter on fear, you have complete instructions for preparing your mind to make practical use of desire. Here, then, is a place to give yourself a challenge, which will definitely determine how much this philosophy you have absorbed. Here is a point at which you could turn prophet into foretell accurately what the future holds in store for you. If, after reading this chapter, you are willing to accept poverty, you may as well make up your mind to receive poverty. This is one decision you cannot avoid. If you demand riches, determine what form, how much you are required to satisfy you. You know the road that leads to riches. You have been given a roadmap, which, if followed, will keep you on that road. If you neglect to make the start or stop before you arrive, no one will be to blame but you. Boom. It is your fault. It's my fault. We need to take self-responsibility. And then we need to take the right actions to put ourselves on the road. See, Napoleon Hill is someone that did achieve great success and amass great wealth and has written books that have transcended time, where far beyond his death, it still resonates today and is still valuable today. And he would study some of the most successful, wealthiest people of that time, people like Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, so on and so forth. So this book is absolutely a map. It is. But a lot of people can buy a map and then they just throw it in the glove compartment and they never actually use it to get where they want to go. This is a roadmap. If you follow it, A to C, A to B, whatever, you'll get there with the right amount of persistence, determination, and application of all these principles that are mentioned in this book. Fear of poverty is a state of mind, nothing else. That's true. Now, a lot of times in my life when I've had very little money, you can reverse it and from a feeling of negative to a feeling of positive through gratitude. What do you have that you are grateful for? What do you have in your life that's priceless? What do you have in your life that someone with so much money might wish that they can pay? It could be you have your parents, you have your loved one, you have good health. There's people that have a lot of money out there and maybe they have ill health, no friends, no family, and they wish they can give away all their money to have what you have, but they can't because there's some things in life that are priceless. There's some things in life that money can't buy. And count your blessings is what I'm saying. And that can help flip you from a state of poverty mentally to a state of wealth mentally. But it's sufficient to destroy one's chance of achievement and undertaking of truth become painfully evident during the depression. Okay, so this fear paralyzes the faculty of reason, destroys faculty of imagination, kills off self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiative, leads to uncertainty of purpose, encourages procrastination, wipes out enthusiasm, and makes self-control an impossibility. That's what fear of poverty does for you. That's what it's doing right now. It's paralyzing you. Or maybe not. Maybe you're not scared of poverty, but someone has this. This ghost haunts them. Let's check out some of the other ghosts so we can wrap up this read for today. Symptoms, fear of poverty. Yeah, he goes deep in this one, and it's a good thing. A lot of people have it. Fear of criticism. A lot of people have this too. Why take action? Why put myself out there and get criticized and embarrassed and my feelings hurt? Well, allow them to get hurt, because some people need thicker skin, and if you're going to be rendering a service that amounts to great wealth, you're going to achieve bumps in the road. You're going to come across bumps in the road, and if you don't have thick skin, or the ability to face criticism, then you're not going to be able to get where you need to go, to achieve these things. These are setbacks. Now, there is a difference between valuable criticism and not valuable criticism. You know, maybe take the emotions out for a moment. If you're doing something, you're rendering a service, or you have a product out there, or you created a video, or you created a book, and people are criticizing you. Is it valuable or not? If it's not valuable, move on. Their opinion doesn't freaking matter. If they're giving you valuable criticism and they're speaking from some element of expertise, then maybe you can learn something. Maybe you can correct something in your approach, so that way you could become more effective and more efficient in what you're doing. The fear of criticism takes on many forms. Majority of them are petty and trivial. True. Bald-headed men, for example, are bald for no other reason than their fear of criticism. Heads become bald because of the tight-fitting bands of hats that cut off their circulation from the roots of their head. Is this true? I don't know. If you're a hair scientist, please let us know in the comments. Okay, criticism. I think fear of criticism is also fear of rejection. For some reason, I'm like tying this together, and I just think sales has helped me tremendous with that. Like, I could deal with criticism a lot more now because I've been doing sales for so many years, and I've been dealing with so much rejection, and self-criticism, colleagues' criticism, sales managers' criticism, that, it's, I hate saying I'm numb to it, but not affected by it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a boxer that gets like, a jab to the face, they're not going to be taken back as much as someone that's never gotten a fight ever, that gets in a boxing ring and gets hit in the face. So you almost got to develop some thick skin around this. Symptoms of fear of criticism: self-conscious, lack of posed personality. We all know what this is like. Feeling the symptoms of criticism. It doesn't feel good, but some of these are choices. Lack of ambition, that's a choice. Lack of initiative, inferiority complex. All right, then we got the fear of ill health. We got the Rona out there. People are scared for their lives, but you want to live your life, or you want to be scared and hiding in your house? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, yeah, you could be aware of ill health, and you can have that, like, fear, but that could be a motivator where you eat healthy, you exercise, you take necessary precautions to be healthy, and then you live your life. Not living it in fear, but living it, I guess, fearlessly living. There you go. Powerful and mighty is the human mind. I agree. It builds or it destroys. It's true. If you say, you know what, I don't want to do this, I don't want to build, I don't want to achieve this, I don't want to become successful, I don't want to make money, then your mind starts building, it makes it stagnant, and when it's stagnant, it dies. It destroys. So why not just build it instead of destroy it? One or the other is going to happen, so you might as well take the reins and build it. Because it is a wasted resource, huh? If we're not using our minds. Okay, these are symptoms. Hypochondria. Oh my God, I got relatives like that. You tell them you got an illness, they got 10 more. Whatever you got, they got. Hypochondriacs. Self-love. Old man worry. All right, let's read about this, and then we'll wrap it up. This looks good. Worry is a state of mind based upon fear. It works slowly but persistently. It is insidious and subtle. Step by step, it digs itself in until it paralyzes one resonating faculty, destroys self-confidence and initiative. Worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision. Therefore, it is a state of mind which can be controlled. An unsettled mind is helpless. Indecision makes an unsettled mind. Most individuals lack willpower to reach decisions promptly and to stand by them after they have been made. Even during normal business conditions, during periods of economic unrest, the individual is handicapped. not alone by his inherent nature to be slow at reaching decisions, but he is influenced by the indecision of others around him, who have created a state of mass indecision. So yeah, worry. I got relatives that worry all the time, always worrying about other people, worrying about themselves, worrying about what could happen, what might happen, what they don't want to happen. But when I went to a Tony Robbins event, I remember him talking about fear and what the heck was I talking about? Yeah, it was about fear and how I just lost my freaking train of thought. Let me go through this again so I can figure this out. Fear, worry is a state of mind based on fear. Oh, now I remember. At the event, he said, your brain is designed to make you survive, not to make you happy. So a lot of times our brains are always looking for what's wrong, what could go wrong, this and that. But it gets a point where it's unproductive and it does more damage than good. Kill the habit of worry in all its forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision comes peace of mind, calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. Boom. What a great transition. I flipped the next page and I transitioned to that. How to kill the habit of worry in all its forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. Nothing. It's not worth it. Don't pay the price of worry. With this decision will come peace of mind, calmness of thought, which bring happiness. A man whose mind is filled with fear not only destroys his own chances of intelligent action, but he transmits these destructive vibrations to the minds of all who come into contact with him and destroys all their chances. See, even a dog or a horse knows when its master lacks courage. They feel it. They feel it. Mental telepathy is reality. You know what's cool, guys? Doing these live streams, reading these books. Another idea that I'm going to be doing is reading some declassified documents that different governments have released. Could be the CIA, could be the FBI, could be the military. And I've read a bunch of declassified documents talking about things like this, telepathy, paranormal activities have occurred. And like there was one declassified document I was reading about talking about poltergeists, which is cool and interesting, MK Ultra, mind control operations. Another one is remote viewing. I was reading one declassified document, I forget by what organization, but it was talking about the legitimacy of using remote viewing in warfare. So that's going to be another live stream, but I've been enjoying this type of content for the channel because with having a family, raising 2 kids, and transitioning the past couple months to residential real estate sales, and working with the team lead, and then working on my own, just having the time to put in long animation videos is just not really in the cards right now. But I am reading audiobooks. I like learning about stuff, so why not just live stream it? And I've been enjoying it, and if I could do this more than once a week, maybe like 3-4 times a week, I think that'll be really beneficial. And not even just for the channel, even if it's something that I'm doing selfishly for me, so that way I sit down and actually read it, and not just sit down, flip open a book, and then start daydreaming. I've had times where I've read books like that where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start reading, and then 20 minutes in I'm good, an hour in I'm not even thinking about the words that I'm reading. I've had that happen to me plenty of times. But with this, it kind of helps me stay focused and helps me, highlight, re-examine, talk about it. Sometimes I'll read through the comments, which I haven't lately. But what's up, bro? Oh shit, I'm like not messaging people back, but hey man, I love you too. You are my brother from another mother, and you know who you are. Who's watching? Keep up the good job. Also reading with your public. Thank you, Eduardo. You're the man. I appreciate you. Ian, you know I love you too, brother. You know you're the one I'm talking about. Amber, so ninja. You have to know how to find it. Do you have a mastermind group? I'll be part of your mastermind. You want to be a part of a mastermind? All right, let's do it. Let's form a mastermind, a real estate mastermind group. Let me say something. Open. Dem. DM me with your ideas. And I love you too, bro. And Tajana Korzova, hello, I'm a new follower, but absolutely adore what you are doing and tend to benefit from the work you shared. Thank you so much. What is so helpful? Well, thank you for watching. And this is a great back and forth where we can learn something together. And every day would be something a little bit different. And like I was mentioning, not just books like Think and Grow Rich. And the last book I did a live stream on was Outwitting the Devil by the same author, Napoleon Hill. But I also want to read, like I was mentioning, declassified government documents because I think they're so interesting and fascinating. Learning about, parapsychology and paranormal, things that have been legitimate. But let's get back on this book. Yeah, bro, keep it up every Sunday night. Man, I want to try and do it more than just once a night. I mean, once a week, not just Sundays, but multiple times because it's kind of easy to set up. Night reads, yeah, man. I think that's totally possible. Like 8 p.m. Eastern time to 10 or 11. Why not? But it's not as easy as streaming like gaming, But I think this is something that's a little bit more valuable, at least for me. I'm not making pro gaming type income off of streaming. Start with Sunday. All right, dude. I'll start with Sunday. Mental telepathy is a reality. Thoughts pass from one mind to another voluntarily, whether or not this fact is recognized by either the person releasing the thoughts or the person who picks up on those thoughts. The person who gives expression by word of mouth to negative or destructive thoughts is practically certain to experience the results of those words in the form of destructive kickback. The release of destructive thought impulses alone, without the aid of words, produces also a kickback in more ways than one. First of all, and perhaps the most important to remember, the person who releases thoughts of a destructive nature must suffer damage through the breaking down of the faculty of the creative imagination. So yeah, obviously, these 6 ghosts of fear are destructive in what they do, and they haunt us, they possess people, and we need to shine light on them and say, I am not going to succumb to this level of fear. I'm not going to let this fear be the all-consuming thought. I'm not going to allow you, and you could speak to it like that, I guess, if it helps you. I'm not going to let you lower my vibration and control my day and control my life. You are nothing. You are non-existent, something like that. I like to remember the scene in The Hobbit when Galadriel, confronts Sauron, and she's like, "You have no power here. You're nameless. You're formless. Go back to the void from which you came." So imagine like you speaking that to these 6 ghosts of fear. I think that is kind of cool, It makes it a little bit more magical, so to speak, where you're not just thinking, oh, fear of this, fear of that, where it's like, no, these are things that are intruding on my life, and I have to banish them. Seven alibi. All right, y'all. So there we have it. Think and Grow Rich. We got the 13 principles: desire, faith, auto-suggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning. What's number 7? The 7 is decision, 8 is persistence, 9 is power, 10 is transmutation of sex energy, 11 is subconscious mind, 12th is the brain, and 13th is the sixth sense. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this live stream read of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I didn't read the entire book, but I went through all 13 principles, covered some of the chapters after that, and tried to extract as much value out of this book as possible for the 2.5 hour live stream that I put on. So thank you guys so much. I plan on doing a lot more live streams of reading different books similar to this and others. So thank you guys so much for watching. All you guys that were in the chat, you're awesome. I love you so much. I appreciate you guys for following and tuning in for tonight's read of Think and Grow Rich. So if you got something out of it, take some type of action. You know, when inspiration hits, lock it in with some type of action. You know, so even if you when you go to another video, or if you go to, you know, just go about your day and turn off of YouTube, you know, write down some type of goal. You know, it could even be something that's far out, like I would like to achieve this amount of money at this certain date of time, and I'm going to do these certain actions to achieve it. Just start with that, you know, and see where it takes you, you know, and then go ahead, buy the book for yourself. But that's about it. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. So have a good night, y'all. You're welcome. Thank you. It's 5:35 a.m. here in Europe. Woke up and found you. Keep it up. Thank you, Eduardo. I plan to, brother. If you missed the early part of this live stream, it'll just be uploaded on the channel, so you can watch the first like 30 minutes or hour. So, Tatiana, thank you.